Good evening. You're watching the weekend edition of Brass Tacks. I am Ridhima Bhatnagar. Has a Pandora's box been opened in the backdrop of the Gyanvapi row? Many similar incidents have now come to light, and the latest one is coming in from Mandya. This time, the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, VHP, has made a call to perform puja at the Jamia Mosque, claiming that it was built after raising a Hanuman temple. Now, the VHP workers today took to the streets of Srinapattnam chanting Jai Shri Ram slogans. The workers also clashed with the cops present at the site, demanding a survey of the mosque in the Mandya district. Apart from staking a claim over the mosque built during the period of Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan and claiming that the mosque was built on the site of a temple, VHP activists have also said that the Jamia Masjid is a protected monument. Hence, they want authorities to stop the functioning of a madrasa in that premises. However, the protests were later called off after the officials assured the ASI would respond to the request of the VHP soon. Now, we here at CNN News 18 have also accessed some crucial documents. All of this is courtesy my colleague Harish Upadhyay. We've now accessed the Mysore Archaeological Department's 1935 report. What does the report say? The report note says that demolition of the Anjaneya temple by Tipu and Jama Masjid built on that temple structure. It also says that the Jama Masjid was constructed by Tipu Sultan on top of a temple after filling up the latter's ground floor. We've also accessed the ASI 2004 letter where the ASI said it's opposing the running of madrasa by the Waqf Board since 1979. So where do things currently stand, and will the VHP's demands hold merit? I'll take all these questions to our guests in just a bit, but first let's understand what really is the row and the controversy about, and why are we seeing these protests break out. Now, Hindu groups are claiming that the mosque was built by demolishing a Hanuman temple. And why are they saying this? Because they're saying there's enough evidence to prove so. They're saying there are inscriptions with Hindu symbols allegedly on the mosque's walls. This is where the demand of the various protesters currently stands. Hindu groups now want to conduct a puja inside the mosque, demand to shut the madrasa at the site as well. But this is where it becomes problematic, because this particular structure is a living monument as notified by the ASI. Mysore Archaeological Department report, this is what we've accessed courtesy my colleague Harish. This is of 1935, pre-independence. This in fact mentions that the masjid was built over the temple. Will this hold value today? That's the big question. The other document that we've accessed here on CNN News 18 is from 2004, and this is a report by the ASI opposing the madrasa at the mosque since 1979. So this is essentially where things currently stand. Let me introduce our guest joining us on this broadcast, BJP spokesperson Anila Singh. We have Ashutosh Srivastava. He is a lawyer at the Supreme Court. We'll shortly be joined by Mujibur Rahman, lawyer and activist. And we also have Professor Badri Narayan, historian and author. Good evening. Good to have all of you on the broadcast with us. Anila ji, let me begin with you first. The ASI has categorized this entire structure as a living monument, which essentially means that when the notification was given, whatever character was there, that needs to be maintained. So do these demands then even have merit?
My ram to everyone. And Ridhima, I think it is a huge injustice towards Hindus. I mean, if they want to know, if they want to tell their present and future generations that what was there, like they are saying that Hanuman temple was there, don't they have right to discover or the remnants left, or to give proper respect to Khandit statues of Devi and Devtas? I mean, we know it very well that if there is any Khandit statue of Devi and Devta, that has to be given full respect, and then it is,
But Anila ji, that's exactly what I want to understand. Then aren't we meddling with the notification of the ASI, which has categorized this particular structure as a living monument, which means the character of that place when the notification was given cannot be meddled with? If there was some sort of religious practices that were taking place before the notification, that can continue, but not post the notification, because then this leads to a larger problem of where will this finally end?
Ridhima, I am not saying anything against the mosque. I am simply saying one thing here. When any Hindu demands this thing, that here was our temple and we want to know about it. So what is wrong in that? Where does ASI, where does 1991 Worship Act comes in it?
Hmm.
I mean, this much of right should be given to Hindu. Why they want to, anything Hindu says, it is immediately being targeted that this is communal. So why Hindus are getting victim of it?
Okay.
Because one particular religious community, they are so habitual of getting appeased.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, I will come to that larger issue, whether this is actually being politicized or being given a political color for political benefits. But I first want to understand how much validity is there even in these demands that are being made. And Ashutosh, if you could break this down simply for our viewers. All through the Gyanvapi Rao, we saw the 1991 Places of Worship Act being quoted, where the Muslim side said this is in violation of what the act essentially represents. This time around, as I said, the ASI has already categorized this as a living monument. Do these pleas and queries that we're seeing by the VHP and even the protests by various other Hindu groups, do they even hold merit today?
See, so far as the Gyanvapi issue is concerned, now as you mentioned about the Places of Worship Act, now Section 4 of the Places of Worship Act states that the religious character of a place which was there as on 15th of August 1947 should not change, and any case to that effect cannot be filed. But in the same Section 4, there is subsection 3,
Correct.
Which says that there are certain exemptions. Now, what are those exemptions? That if the character has changed later by any of the religion, then in that case can be filed. Or the second exemption is that if any monument is covered under the provisions of the Ancient Monument and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 1958, in that case also the suit can be filed. And the third exception is that if there is any settlement out of the court or whatever, then also this act will not apply. Obviously,
Okay.
this third exception is not applicable in this case. But now the court is looking at in Gyanvapi whether these two exceptions fall or not. Now, coming to the other part of it, if any monument has been declared to be of national importance or a protected monument under the provisions of Section 4 of the Archaeological Sites Act, as I said, Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 1958. So in Section 4, there is a provision that if the government has to give a notification for including any monument under this particular act, has to give 2 months notice before finalizing the notification. Now, in these 2 months, if any religion or any person or authority or institution
Ashutosh,
has
I just
any
have a small
objection
clarification here. So I want to understand, because the ASI has already notified this as a living monument, which means the original character of that structure cannot be played with. Then does this plea of what the VHP is saying even hold merit? Will it actually have merit as it moves forward? That's what I want to understand. Won't you be meddling with the notification of the ASI?
See, this is what I'm trying to explain. That the court, if the matter goes to the court, obviously nobody should take laws in their own hands, and the law and order has to be maintained. And the state government has rightly, has imposed Section 44 of CRPC to maintain the law and order situation, and there should not be riot-like situation in the at any place. But apart from that, there is a way to go to the court if any of the parties are not happy with any of such government notification, and if they feel that the notification was not in conformity with the laws and the rules have not been followed while making such notification. There were certain kind of objections raised during these 2 months, which would have been given to raise such objection, and those objections were not taken seriously, or whatever may be the situation like that, can be very well addressed by the court. And the court, as in Gyanvapi, has ordered for the kind of videography and survey of the area. In Gyanvapi, if we see that nobody is asking for the change of character of the religious place, what the 5 women who have filed the petition, they are only asking that they should be allowed
Yeah.
to have the prayers, which they are allowed only once in a year at present. So
Correct.
obviously the mosque which is adjoining to that
Okay.
place is not at all being asked to be converted into temple or anything like that.
Okay.
The mosque will continue as it is, but it is the only that the worship should be allowed, and there is no bar so far as this petition is concerned, as per the provisions of the Places of Worship Act 1991.
Fair
So
enough.
there is nothing
Mujibur
wrong,
Rahman,
and
let me
accordingly
bring
this
you
matter
in
was
here. I want
challenged.
to understand what is the issue even if the videography does happen. Because if the videography does happen, that will actually come as part of a court order. It won't come from any political party or any outfit. Something similar to what we
Absolutely.
saw in Gyanvapi. So
Yes.
what really is the issue as far as if a videography does happen or if a survey does happen?
Yes, absolutely. See, there is no role of any political party as such. Everything has happened as per the court's order. And not only that, this order was challenged also before Allahabad High Court, which did not intervene, and it rejected that appeal, and then matter further went to Supreme Court. Then Supreme Court said, we will not intervene at present so far as whether this falls under the Places of Worship Act or not. And it sent it to the district court to decide this issue. And accordingly, this issue is
we know
pending
what
before
happened
the
in
Court.
Gyanvapi. I'm just saying let's restrict ourselves to what we're seeing play out in Mandya. I'm saying a similar demand has been put forth. What is the issue if a videography does happen? Because if the videography or a survey is mandated, it will come from the court.
Yes, if the court feels that this matter, looking at the prima facie evidences and the petition, if the court feels that it may fall under certain exemptions of the Places of Worship Act, and also the monument, falls under the Ancient Monument and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 1958, it can further order for videography. And if the court is not convinced with the relevant papers, documents, that nothing that sort of has changed, can also refuse. And this matter can further be challenged before the higher court. So there is a judicial process which should be followed. The courts are there. Every individual has the constitutional right to approach the appropriate court for justice. And if somebody feels that there has been certain violations of the laws and the rules have not been followed properly, can very well go to the court and ask for justice or whatever the prayer they want to put across.
Fair point that
so
you're
far as
making,
this matter
that
is concerned.
this is a fundamental right, that if you feel that there have been some wrongs that have been done in the past. But the other concern that is being raised by the other group, especially the Muslim side today, is that where will this then end? The Gyanvapi Rao seems to have opened a Pandora's box, and this is what we heard from the likes of Aswaduddin Owaisi and others saying that in one way only, why don't you just make a list of all the masjids and monuments that you want to raise and get it done with? Professor Narayan, I want to bring you in here. Do you think there is now a reshaping or rewriting of history because there seems to be no end with these demands today?
Ridhima, very good question you have raised. Actually, past lives with us like assets and also as like living heritage. And it lives with us like our ancestors too. So, past year, in the process of traveling society, of making the history, or making the society, we create troubling kind of history, which divide, which sometimes creates problems, sometimes makes us wounded, sometimes makes us hurt. So history is very powerful in present, and it gives various kinds of emotional feeling among the communities, among the people. But problem is, problem and solution lies here also, is not to hide the past, but address the past, interact with the past, and if past comes to you like a problem creator, please resolve it by discussion, by a kind of interaction with the communities together, come at the table together and resolve it. If it doesn't happen, then one should think about legal dispute, go to the courts and everything and anything. And this past should not be subverted fully, but it should be corrected, or it's a kind of plastic surgery kind of thing, or like Gyanvapi thing, Just they are asking for the worship.
Okay, I think
So
it's a
in
fair
that
point
way,
that Professor Narayan is making, that why don't we anytime talk about maybe an out-of-court settlement or a dialogue? And Anila ji, I want to bring you back in here. And the reason that we're drawing parallels to the Gyanvapi Rao is because that is where essentially where it all started. While I understand the concerns of the Hindu group, and they've put out a very large list of where they claim that a lot of temples were raised and then mosques were built, about which goes in hundreds in various states as well. But I want to understand what is the end game and the solution here. Look at what Mohan Bhagwat has said very recently. He's like, why are Hindus going and finding a shivling or a Hindu emblem or a structure in every mosque? This has to end somewhere. Don't you think this is also the time for the two communities to come together and have a better dialogue?
You're absolutely correct, Ridhima. That is the best way. That you should have mutual talk. You should come. You should have some mutual understanding in between you. And if you're not, like Bhagwat ji said, that and if anything is not settled mutually, then you can go to the court and listen what court says. I mean, this is the best thing. But as I mentioned earlier, doesn't Hindus have right to know that what happened during those 1,000 years? It is not about erasing mosques. I mean, these are things, they get so much hyper because there are political parties who want to take advantage of it. The only thing Hindus, and let me say one thing here, Riddhima. When I talk about Hindus should be seen away from Bharatiya Janata Party and RSS as well. Although all the Hindus are not associated with BJP or RSS, they have got their own faith. They have got their own sentiments as well. We know it very well that when we talk about Vedic culture or we talk about Sanatan Dharma, it is a very resilient Dharma. We have been targeted thousands of years, but yet it didn't get destroyed. That is the beauty of this Vedic culture, Vedic Dharma, Sanatan Dharma.
Mujibur Rahman, where do you stand? But Anila ji is saying, and very diplomatically well said as a spokesperson, that yes, while dialogue and all is great, but if any wrong was done, then this is the time to make it right. Do you think that's the way forward, where we need to, in a way, rewrite history for the wrongs to be corrected in the past?
Actually, history is to be right, cannot be rewritten. First thing is, and the past cannot be undone. Past is past. Second thing is, yes, she said that everybody has a right to go to the court, but this is the very court that who puts cost on frivolous petitions. Even yesterday, Supreme Court put a huge cost of 2 lakh rupees on a petition, calling it a luxury petition. So these frivolous petitions, which are being heard these days, should be put a huge cost on these petitions by the Supreme Court.
Okay, Ashutosh, legally speaking, what is the protocol or the scenario in a situation like this, when you have pleas or petitions like this, and on the other hand, you have a notification by the ASI? What is the standard procedure in cases like these?
See, the case can be filed before the appropriate court, and if the court finds merit in the petition based on the documentations annexed and the argument, and considering the law point, if the court finds that there is a merit, can issue notice to the opposite party, and thereafter the proceedings will further take place. Now, if the court finds it that there is no merit at all in a particular case for whatever reasons have been filed, and it is frivolous, the court can reject or dismiss that petition, and the petitioner in that case can challenge that petition in the higher court. Now, as my friend was telling, that some sort of cost has also been imposed by the Supreme Court and some other courts when they find it to be absolutely frivolous and having no merits at all, and it has been filed for some ulterior motive. So in those kind of cases, even costs have been imposed. But we have to respect both the part of it. When a case which has been filed, like in Gyanvapi, where the court was convinced and it passed an order for the survey and the videography of a particular area, that also has to be respected. And when the Supreme Court rejects any petition, or any court rejects any petition, finding to have no sort of merit at all, that also has to be respected. Obviously, these petitions can be challenged to the higher court, but if the Supreme Court is the final authority, if it passes any such order,
Sure.
that has to be relied upon, that has to be accepted by everyone.
Okay.
And this is what has happened in Gyanvapi. Now, the other issues which are coming up, obviously, I think whoever is not happy or satisfied with any survey report should file the petition
Sure.
rather than
you have the court and you
creating
have
any
the law and
order
let it
situation.
take its own course. But Professor
Yes.
Narayan, two things that I want to understand, and these are concerns that are being raised. One is the timing of when all of this is happening. The Muslim side today feels pressurized and targeted. They're saying that this is a way to erase and rewrite history at the cost of inflicting disharmony to their sentiments. Would you agree that that's the narrative that is being set out with these recent examples?
Ridhima, see, one should not be worried to interact with history. And one should not be desperate that history is coming to our places. Yes, history or past sometimes evoked for political gains. And this kind of evocation sometimes create social division, conflict in the society. So worry is necessary, is natural. But a mature democracy always evolve with the mature community wisdom. And if Indian democracy is now a mature democracy, I think we should handle this past very competently. And from both the sides, Hindu side, there is no Hindu side, Muslim side kind of thing. But I would like to say community, all the Hindu community, Muslim community, sit together, sit with their elders, with their wisdom purush, and resolve and handle with the past. We should not worry about both the sides. And what Mohan Bhagwat's statement is very important, which came recently, that we should not evoke past always everywhere and searching this kind of Shiv icon, Shiv temple, or Shiv.
Okay. Well, these are ideal solutions that we are discussing. The question is how much of it is actually possible on the ground. Anila ji, I also want to understand the other aspect from you, which is the criticism that's coming in that this is all politically motivated. Training guns at the BJP, saying, look at where all these incidents are happening. This is the narrative that the BJP wants to set out, which is one of polarizing. This has got nothing to do with history or facts, but just a narrative of polarization.
See, Riddhima, reality is, like in 1947, when our country got divided, it got divided on the basis of religion. All right. So after 1947, when we got our independence, Hindu thought that now, like, we can live freely. I can practice my culture, my religion, my Vedic culture, my Sanatan Dharma, or anything. Like they all were mighty happy about it. Fine. But they never knew that a political party which is going to have maximum number of years for governance, that political party is going to throw Hinduism, Sanatan Dharma into prison. I mean, this political party was so deep into appeasement. They targeted Hindus and they told, shut up, mind your own business. We are here to win the elections.
But Anila ji, do two wrongs make a right? That's the question that's being raised.
No, that is what I am saying. It is not about erasing mosques. But doesn't every Hindu living in a country or anywhere in the world, doesn't that person has got the right to tell his son or daughter about the history of that place, about that monument? What is beneath this mosque? If they want to know about it, what is wrong in that? अब ये अधिकार भी हमारा छीन लिया जाएगा.
I completely agree with what you are saying. I understand the sentiments of both the sides. I come back to where I started my debate with, and I'm going to close exactly with this, Anila ji. If these are the demands that we're seeing and the frequency of which these demands are being made, where will this then end? Then is Owaisi wrong in saying make a list in one go and excavate and erase everything? Is that wrong then?
See, Owaisi, I mean, it is absolutely, there is absolutely no point of discussing Owaisi here, because Owaisi wants to become the biggest advocate of Muslims. He is least bothered that what had happened or what is happening in the lives of the Muslims since we got our independence. When we talk about Modi ji or whether we talk about Yogi ji in Uttar Pradesh, because Gyanvapi Mosque issue is so hot nowadays. I mean, both of them, they work for the people of India and of Uttar Pradesh without any discrimination. But Owaisi wants to target Modi ji or Yogi ji because he wants to become hero of Muslims. But at the same time, I'm going to emphasize this thing that we do not want any communal tensions. But at the same time, I really hope and expect this thing from the Muslims and the leaders that please think about Hindu sentiments as well.
Okay, and unfortunately, we'll have to leave that conversation there, completely out of time. Would like to thank all our guests. We are slipping into a very short break. Thanks a lot for watching.